Well, I'm going to go through the different ideas of Jewish identity, and I'm going to show why none of them really work. And then I'm going to explain what Jewish identity really is. Is Jewishness an ethnicity? Well, in order for a definition to define something, by definition, it has to describe every member of the population. You can have an exception to a rule, but you can't have an exception to a definition. If I say the definition of a chair is something with 4 legs and a back, then all chairs have to have 4 legs and a back, otherwise it's not a chair. So whatever I'm going to say is Jewish identity, there cannot be any exceptions. So let's define Jewish identity as an ethnicity. Does it make any sense that an Ethiopian Jew and a Yemenite Jew has the same ethnicity as a German Jew or an American Jew or a Russian Jew? Are you going to tell me that Ivanka Trump, for example, who identifies as a Jew, is of the same ethnicity as the Yemenite Jews in Yemen? In what sense do they have the same ethnicity? Certainly they're not of the same race. We have Jews of all sorts of races. We have black Jews, we have white Jews, we have Jews of all races. So a Jew can't be a race. It's not an ethnicity. And if somebody wants to define Jews as a religion, which is the most logical and straightforward definition, then you're going to have the question that many people raise. Dennis Prager recently, who I'm not a fan of, recently wrote an article in the New York Times last week claiming that the Jews are not just a religion, because if they were, then you would not have atheist Jews. And you have Jews who are atheists. So if they're not a religion, and they're not an ethnicity, and it's not a race, and it's not a tribe either, it's not a family. You can convert to Judaism, and you can't convert to a blood family. You can't convert to an ethnicity. And if you can convert to a family, like an adopted child, you see, adopted children are not the same as children. Adopted children means that by law you have to treat this child as if he was a biological child. That's not a convert to Judaism. A convert to Judaism is not a person who the law says you have to treat as if they're Jewish. They're actually Jewish. And secondly, even if you're going to assume that there is some kind of body of law that says you have to treat them as they're Jewish, what body of law is there? The religion? Remember, they're atheist Jews. So if you don't believe in any religion, how in the world can you convert to Judaism? Who's the one that determines what the conversion process is? What does it take? And you can convert to Judaism, but we all know you can't convert out of Judaism. Like, who decided that? How about another question? Someone's mother is Jewish and his father is not. Is the child Jewish? Well, there's laws about that. So if it's a race or an ethnicity, then there's no such question. It depends on the race or the ethnicity of the child. But there are laws. Traditionally, Judaism has recognized maternal lineage. And now there are certain strains of ideologies that identify as Judaism that recognize also paternal lineage. But who makes these rules? Jews have no infrastructure. There's no Pope of the Jews. And if there was a Pope of the Jews, that would be a religious position. And if you're an atheist, you don't believe in it anyway. So what is it? Well, I'll explain to you what it is, and I'll explain to you how all these identities came into being and how things got so confused. Jewishness there's only one consistent definition. It's religious doctrine. Means as follows. There are no identifiable characteristics that all Jews share. That means there's no such thing as a definition of a Jew in terms of characteristics. It's not an ethnicity, it's not a race, it's not a religion. But who is a Jew is religious doctrine. It means as follows. Every religion has doctrines. So Judaism has, for example, you have to eat food that's kosher. What's considered kosher food? Well, whatever the religion says is kosher food, that's kosher food, right? A scientist can't say, well, I'm an atheist, but I'm going to have my own definition of kosher food, because the whole concept of kosher was something invented by the religion. That's religious doctrine. At what year a boy gets bar mitzvahed? The whole concept of bar mitzvah means somebody who's now obligated to fulfill the mitzvahs. Bar is Aramaic for son, and mitzvah means the commandment. So it means whoever now is obligated in the commandments, it's religious doctrine. A Jew is somebody who's obligated to fulfill the obligations of Jews. There's 613 obligations with thousands of subcategories. There are 7 obligations that the Torah has for non-Jews, 613 for Jews. And who is obligated in the 613? That the Torah decides. And whoever the Torah decided is obligated in 613 commandments. That's the definition of a Jew. That's it. It's religious doctrine. If you don't believe in the Torah, you really don't believe in Jewishness. If you don't believe in the Torah, then you don't believe that God sent manna down in the desert. You don't believe that Moses split the Red Sea. You don't believe Adam spoke to a snake. And you're not going to believe that God, on Mount Sinai, decided that these people, whoever the Torah identified, are obligated in the mitzvahs. There are no identifiable characteristics of Jews. The only common denominator is the religion claims that you are obligated to do the mitzvahs. Jewish identity is religious doctrine. Just like you have a kosher piece of meat, you can have a Jewish human being. Simple as that. And if you want to know what the definition of kosher is, you got to look in the religion, and whatever the religion says is kosher is kosher. And if you want to know what a Jew is, you got to look in the religion, and whoever the religion says is Jewish is Jewish. And therefore, you can have an atheist Jew, and the reason why he's Jewish, whether he knows it or not, is because the religion says that guy, whether he believes it or not, whether he agrees or not, the religion says he's obligated to fulfill the 613 mitzvahs. You see, this is the only consistent definition of Jewishness, and this is the definition of Jewishness that Jews have had throughout the generations. You can convert to Judaism according to Jewish religious doctrine. The reason why maternal lineage creates a Jew is because that's religious doctrine. The answer to all of these questions is that's what the religion says. And the religion has authority over Jewish identities because Jewish identity is only religious doctrine. Without that, there is no consistent definition of Jewishness.